Welcome to the For Pete's Sake podcast. I'm David O'Connor with eXp Realty.
And I'm Alex Blancarn with eXp Realty.
And today we're going to be reviewing the January 2023 market stats. And we also got our tip of the month and our deal of the month for you. So stay tuned. Alex, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. We're starting to see a bit of warmer weather out there, so can't complain. I think Wyerton Willie was saying that it's going to be an early spring. So, yeah, nothing bad there. What about you? How you been?
Well, I found a hack for the winter. What you do is you fly to Hawaii for 8 days.
Yeah, that
right
helps.
Before a snowstorm and right before it goes to like minus 30. So that's my free tip for everybody. When it's really cold, just go to Hawaii.
No snow there.
No snow. It's beautiful there.
No.
Actually, before we get into it, this tomorrow, who's going to win the Super Bowl, buddy? Chiefs, Eagles?
Yeah. So, you know me, I'm a big Mahomes guy. So, I'm going to go Chiefs.
It's so close. Like, Philly's probably the better team, but Chiefs got a once-in-a-generation quarterback.
And he's fun.
I could go either way, but I think I'm leaning towards I want Mahomes to win, but I feel like maybe it's going to be the Eagles. But I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good answer.
Yeah, I know, right? That's like I should get into politics.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see
what
happens.
We've got the January 2023 stats. Thanks for putting this together.
No problem.
Let's jump into this.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, pretty slow month for January, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, if we look at like your main stats here, we got the average sale price declined by 21. New listings have increased just over 20. Number of sales increased 20. But I think the big one, I think those percentages don't really tell the story, because I think the story when we get into the slides is going to be more in the volume, not the percentages. But The one that jumps out for me here is the days to sell increase of 114. That's just massive.
Yeah, those shot right up. I mean, for reference, I think just going off of memory here, I think the days to sell in January was 9. So, I mean, that's a little bit nuts. So that's where you see that main increase there. We'll get to what we saw in 23. And looking on a provincial level, which is kind of interesting to compare, okay, what's happening provincially versus what's happening in Peterborough. Just kind of jotted down a couple. I jotted down a couple of stats from the Ontario market update for January. And in Ontario, prices fell by about 20% year over year. So we're pretty on par there at 21.5. We saw new listings. They were up year over year. We had a huge increase of 20%, but in Ontario, we saw an increase of about 8% year over year. And then sales. We actually saw the number of sales increase by 20% year over year. But in the province, on average, sales were down 38%. So
you know what? You're not the only stat guy. I stumbled upon a stat today. The GTA was 44% down.
Jeez, in sales.
Yeah, it was something like 5,400 and now to 3,300 for the GTA.
Wow.
So kind of Mississauga-ish all the way to, I guess, Clarington.
Yeah, and that's why it's important as well to pay attention to your local market, because something might be happening provincially and in the news, but not necessarily happening in your local real estate market. So always important to pay attention to your local market when determining, homes values and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there's average sale price. You can see in the graph, we've got a little bit of an uptick. Look at that.
Tiny little uptick. You gotta look nice.
Month over month. That's always fun to see. We came in at 596,680, which I mean is quite down. Again, it was around 20% below what it was last year. But look at that value last year, 740. That's absurd. When you compare that to 21, we're up about 50 grand. And you can kind of see more of a steady climb, 2018, 2019, 2020. So again, I think you gained a lot of equity if you bought, prior to 2019, prior to 2018. You still gained a lot of equity It's just, it had peaked last year. And we talked about that in our last podcast, kind of how it peaked in those first 3 months in Peterborough in 22.
Yeah, really, that 2022 January to March was really an anomaly, really.
Yeah, and again, you can't really use that as, how your property is going to appreciate because it was a bit of an outlier because of that mass GTA exodus, low interest rates, and a giant amount of demand due to having to work from home.
And you know me, I like to be the optimist. So if you look down at the bottom of 2022 there, so you see last month, the average detached residential home in Peterborough City.
Yep.
582, and we're up to 596. So yeah, a little bit of good news there.
Yeah, some good news there. Now, what do you think projections quickly for the average price? Are we going up, or are we going to stay flat, or maybe go up and down slightly? My opinion, I think we're going to go kind of up and down slightly, ranging in that maybe 20 to 30,000 ballpark for the rest of the year. I mean, no crystal ball, but that's kind of what I'm predicting. What about you?
Yeah, I'm still on par with the year in review. I think we're going to have a spring market for sure. I like it still. Like, all the people I'm talking to, all the clients, everything I'm seeing is buyer. We're going to have buyers coming, I think. And if all the buyers come, you're going to see prices start to go up. You might even see some competitions again in March, April. I do think it's going to flatten out then, and it could even trend down later in the year. I do think. Remember, we had our little bet. We hadn't seen the January number, but I was saying that I think when the dust settles in December, the average sales price is going to be pretty close to what we're seeing here in January.
Yeah. Let's see. That would be that'd be another wild ride.
Yeah. All right, let's jump ahead here.
Yeah. So new listings again. You can see that uptick month over month at the end of the graph there. We came in at 80 new listings, and that's up from 65 last year. So not a lot of new listings last year. When we're looking kind of average, in the rear view mirror there over the last 5 years, 80 seems to pretty much be on par. The 65 was a little bit low in 22, but 80 kind of seems to be on par. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you'll see as we move ahead here, this is why those percentages at the beginning, I didn't think told a story, because the real story was there wasn't a lot of inventory last year, but there was a lot of buyers. And even though transactions are, I guess, up, but it doesn't matter. The ratio between how many properties were available and how many buyers are on the market are a lot different this year. So with more buyers last year, less properties, that's we saw the rates, sales price spike, record highs there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can see number of sales there. Again, another uptick month over month. So we've seen 3 upticks month over month. We're at 54 sales, which again, you look back, rear view mirror, we're pretty on par with the number of sales for January. Not a huge increase year over year between 22 and 23. January, ultimately, the same as December, tends to be a bit of a slow month for real estate just due to the holidays.
Yeah, so this why to me it looks like if you remove last year and even to some degree 2021, we might be in for like a typical, it's usually down January, February. You'll start seeing the listings in March. We'll have a bit of a spring market, and then we go into that summer low. So I think that's the kind of year we might have more of a traditional market this year.
Yeah, and you can see that in the last 2 years. You can really see the number of sales kind of pick up really well with that graph there, really picking up at the start of March for both 22 and 21. So yeah, hopefully we get that. It would be awesome to see some more activity in the real estate market. I know there are a lot of sellers that are sitting, so it would be great to definitely see a bit more demand come back. And here's a fun graph. This is a new segment that we're going to be focusing on. And this is the number of active listings versus the number of sales. So this is kind of a good way to determine the supply and demand in the marketplace. We can look at seller sentiment with the new listings, but active listings is a number, and it's based on the number of active listings that are left on market at the end of the month.
Yeah, this to me, this is the best one for telling the story. If you look early in the year, like we were just talking about, listings were down, but sales were up. So it created that spike in prices for those first 3 months. April, you can see it was a little bit more balanced, and then the sellers that were on the fence saw all those record high prices, so they start coming to market. So you see all that inventory come up, but then the buyers shying away with all those rate increases. Yeah, and then prices started to decline.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And you can really see it from the. It's really nice to see it graphically because you can see the difference. Again, for people that maybe it's a little bit smaller to read, sales are the blue bar and active listings are the green bar. So you can see how much it has changed from January 22 just with the graph. So look at the size of the green bar. It's the furthest on the right for January 23, and then the size of the green bar all the way on the left for January 22. The difference between the sales and active listings, it's huge. Yeah, and that's what we see, that 20% drop in price.
Exactly. Previously, we showed new listings for the month, but that we pointed out how that's skewed because it's not showing the carryovers from the month before, and this kind of tells the full story.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we saw it here. You can see 22, 35 active listings, 44 sales, and then you jump down to 23 January. We saw 97 active listings. So that is, again, almost, what is that? That's almost triple for the number of active listings. And then sales stayed relatively the same, like we've been talking about, 10 more sales compared to last January. But what's interesting is this is a story that's happening in Ontario. Again, we were touching on the Ontario statistics for January. There was one statistic that stuck out, and it was the number of active listings was up 174% year over year. So again, we see that in the local market as well. Listings are the number of active listings are up. There aren't as many buyers going out and purchasing the inventory that's available. So there are homes that are sitting on the market.
Yeah, that's why at the beginning when we saw that 20% increase, I said, well, the volume is really the story because it's that 54 at the bottom there of sales compared to the 97. So this is why we're in more of a buyer's market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then days to sell, we saw a downtick here, fortunately. You can see at the end of the graph there. But those came in at 33 days to sell. Again, there it is, that 22 number at 9 days to sell. Absolutely absurd. But we're down from 37 days to sell to 33 days in January. So that's down month over month, which is great to see.
Yeah, there's different things going on in the market, but I think one of the problems that's inflating the days to sell is just overpriced listings.
Yeah,
because properties that are priced appropriately for the market they're in are still selling.
Yeah, and that's another thing for sellers and why it's important to price correctly. It's the first question a buyer asks when we take them into a property. Most of the time, how long has it been on the market?
Yep.
And they kind of gauge what they think they're going to offer based on how long it's been on the market.
Yeah, and then when we're looking at a listing, the agent, we're sharing that information with our client. So you see a property's had 3-4 price drops. So say it's sitting at $599 now. Well, there's no way we're spending more than that. If we're most likely going to be unopposed, so we're coming in under, like for sure. But if that property maybe came to market at the appropriate price, maybe they could have gotten, low sixes. So that's what they don't understand. It's that it just takes one. Let's put it $100,000 up. It just takes one. I'm like, you might as well buy a lottery ticket.
And it's just very tough in this market. Last year it would have maybe been okay, but in this market where the sentiment is down from buyers and interest rates are up, it's now the affordability of buyers. It's decreased. So when affordability decreases, ultimately, unfortunately, the prices of homes have to decrease as well in order for them to transact.
100%.
And then months of inventory. So here we go. Look at that. It's another downtick for months of inventory. So that's great to see. Again, we were kind of touching on it a little bit, but it is kind of an idea of where we're sitting in terms of a buyer balanced or seller's market. So we came in at 2 months of inventory, but if we remember back from last month, I believe we were at really 2.5. So we came down 4 months of inventory month over month. So that's great to see. It does certainly still feel a bit like a buyer's market, but it is starting to heat up a bit. And we're now almost in the second week of February. And yeah, we're starting to heat up a bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think when the buyers are going to start coming out probably next month, and things are going to get rolling here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the tip of the month. So Dave, tell us about the importance of a pre-list home inspection.
Yeah. Now, I always recommend to my clients, my sellers, to get a pre-list home inspection. There's a few different reasons, but the first is if you get a report back and your property shows really well on the pre-list home inspection, then that's a selling feature, and you attach with the listing for the agents to be able to download and share with the buyers. Now, if some things pop on the inspection, some fixes you got to get done, no problem at all. If you get them fixed, then I usually recommend you attach those invoices for them to be completed. You're being fully transparent. And then you also have the opportunity to not show the home inspection if you don't want to, but we always preface that by saying any major latent defect or any safety concern with your house has to be disclosed as well.
Yeah,
but it's usually a good tip. And also, sorry, the last little part is, if you get a pre-list home inspection from a reputable inspector in the community, I like to use Dave Sharman. Shout out to Dave Sharman. He's great. He's really good at his job. And the other thing is, he's got that English accent. It's really good for breaking bad news to the clients. So I recommend Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is if you have a home inspection available for the buyers, then maybe you get an offer without a home inspection and a condition that might hold up the sale. So that's another good reason to get your pre-list home inspection.
And that's huge. Again, it's really delivering a clean bill of health for these buyers. A lot of buyers you talk to now are saying, I would never buy a house without a home inspection. So again, maybe it eliminates that condition on their offer to make it even more clean, and it gives them, the seller's peace of mind that they're not going to use their home inspection to back out of the deal. That the buyers aren't going to throw on a home inspection condition and then have that other layer that has to be fulfilled before the deal goes through.
Yeah. Now, last year we were in a different market. The sellers had all the control. They were forcing buyers to go in clean with no conditions, but that's not the market we're in now. If you're a buyer, you're going to get your finance and inspection in there. And we're even seeing more sale of buyer property conditions in there, which you could never get in a market like last year. But
no. So yeah, let's talk about the deal of the month. So this one is 299 Sherbrooke Street. It's listed by Lindsay Seabrook and Jessica Yates. Another fantastic listing here. 349,500. It's listed at 350, and it's a 4-bed, 2-bath. So this one we kind of took a bit of an investment lens. We attached a bit of an investment lens to this one, just because it's listed at 350. There is a bus stop just around the corner, and we've got 4 bedrooms. So it could be a fantastic investment. And we're going to go over the numbers here. Just wanted to show you guys the pictures. Pretty nice place for 350, eh?
Yeah, and then not to mention you're really close to downtown Peterborough as well.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Shows really well in photos, and I think this is going to get a lot of attention. Great price point by the agent here.
Yeah. In terms of neighborhood, here's where you're sitting. If it pulls up here, you're really at Sherbrooke and Rubidge. So there is a bus stop right here. So you're kind of right here, and there's a bus stop literally right around the corner on Rubidge, which will go up to Trent University. So that is the subject property. Now, what we did is we ran a bit of numbers on it to show you what you might be expecting in terms of an investment. So let me pull that up here.
Peterborough's been getting a lot of attention from out of town investors. That's been going on since I think 2018. Maclean's had an article identifying Peterborough as one of the top 3 places to invest in the province. And basically, anytime you see these lists, Peterborough is usually on there.
Yeah, it's a great spot to invest because you've got Trent University and Fleming College. Again, if you can get a property like this at a low price, under 400 with that many bedrooms, I mean, you got to at least take some time to analyze it to see if it might be a good move. Now, again, this one was kind of geared towards a student rental due to the location. You are really downtown in central Peterborough. And I mean, there is a bus stop around the corner, but you're in, downtown central Peterborough. So it's a good spot for students. And so here's what we're looking at in terms of investing. So we took a $350 purchase price. So that's at the list price. Now, when you're investing in a property that you're not going to live in, you're going to need to put 20% down. And we chose an interest rate of 5%. Now, you would likely have to go to a mortgage broker to get that 5%. We're seeing fixed at around 4.5% to 5.5%, honestly. But I did see online you could get, at the time of this recording, a CIBC around that 5%. But you can always go to a mortgage broker to try and get the best rate. We've got an amortization of 30 years. That's, again, to try and keep that monthly payment as low as possible, and so that we can increase our cash flow. We've got closing costs of around $11,000. Again, just a ballpark. That's going to be your land transfer tax and your lawyer's fees. And so you're in the deal for $81,000. So this is $81,000 is what you're paying to get this deal. First, we're going to talk about cash on cash return. So this is a value that is similar to the stock market. This is a great way to look at it. If I put my money in a different investment vehicle, what percentage of return would I get on my money? That's what cash on cash return describes. So for your first year, you're getting 3.2% on return for your money. Not great. But again, when you scroll down here, you start to look at your 10% in year 10. That's when it starts to get really attractive. Again, all investment real estate, it's not ideal to speculate on it. It's ideal to hold that investment for a lot of years. And that's when you really start to see that cash flow and the numbers starting to make sense. Now, that being said, we do want something that makes sense right away for year one. We don't want to lose money in year one. So what we've got is $2,600 for our monthly rent. So that would be around $650 per room, and that's would you say that's fairly average for?
Yeah, if you look at the student rental ads, there's a lot that are in the 700-800 range now. So this is a conservative amount. There's probably the potential to get more, but let's be conservative for the point of this exercise. But there is a good chance you could get better rents.
And we were talking as well. It's going to be $650, and they pay utilities. So that might, so that might make it a little more fair in terms of market rent. But definitely, like, we're seeing them in the 750s for student rentals. In terms of property taxes, we threw that in from the listing. We're sitting at $2,714. $3,000 for insurance. So this property is over 100 years old, so it might charge an insurance premium. So you might have to pay a little bit extra. So we threw it around that $3,000. Maintenance, again, this could go up and down as well, depending on the tenant. But we threw in $1,500 for the year. Vacancy rate, we chose 3%. Now, do you remember what the vacancy rate was in Peterborough? I think that you mentioned it was reported at around 1.5%.
Yeah, I didn't see last month, but I want to say at least in the fall it was at about 1.4, which is really low.
Yeah, so I mean, you might not get 3% vacancy throughout the life. You're really supposed to run it at 5% most of the time. But again, there are so many people looking for rentals right now in Peterborough, and when you're throwing an attractive price at $650 per room, I think you would be comfortable running at 3% vacancy. Now, we also threw on property management. We've got that at 8%. You don't have to use a property manager. In fact, we would both recommend when you're investing in your first property, to manage it yourself, at least for a year, just so you can kind of get a feel of what happens in terms of property management. So let's throw it at 0, and then let's look at the numbers. Okay, so cap rate at 6.59%. Now, the cap rate is another number that you're going to use to analyze your investment. A great rule for cap rate is to have a cap rate that is higher than your cost of borrowing. So if you recall, we had an interest rate at 5%, so 6.59% for our cap rate. Check, that checks the box. And cash flow is another thing we're looking at. And again, cap rate, is the ratio between the net operating income and the price you're paying for the property. Now, we're looking at cash flow at $417.73 per month. That's, again, without property management. And again, that is for your first year. So that's happening every single month. Now, let's say we want to see what would happen in year 3. So year 3, we've got an annual cash flow of $6,417. We divide that by 12 to see what we're getting monthly. We're looking at $535 a month from this property in cash flow if we purchased it on these terms. And then you look at cash on cash, we're sitting at 6.19%, and that goes up to 10% in year 6. Again, this is without property management. Now, when we do throw in the property management, the numbers slightly change. I mean, you can see it go down there at 215 for cash flow. You got a 589 cap rate. And year 3, we are now sitting at $3,848 divided by 12. We're looking at $320 a month. So not as good as it was without property management, but you don't have to manage the property. So, it's give and take. Again, with investments, any investment will work if you adjust the numbers correctly. I mean, if you were able to get this home and let's say you threw 30% down, now what are we looking at? We're looking at $403. You're in it now for $116,000. So you did increase by about $36,000 your initial investment, but you're getting a higher cash flow. So if that works for you, then go ahead and do that. And again, this is all from calculator.net. If you just type in rental property calculator, you can throw in your own numbers here and see what works for you. And we'll link that down below in the description.
I just add too that it's great when your investment property is cash flowing, but the other things to remember is your mortgage is being paid down, right? And then over time, if you're holding this, the property is going to appreciate. So I like to think you're getting paid multiple ways, and cash flow is always a bonus, especially with an older home. You want to be flowing some cash. Put that in a separate account. For when those big ticket items come up, you got to do roof, windows, and things like that. But if you have your investment paying for itself on the side here, and then it's appreciating in value over time. That's that's why it's one of the best investments out there is investment properties.
And like you mentioned, that appreciation. So we threw it at 3%. And look at this. You sell in year 20, and you're getting equity accumulated. You've gained $508,000 in equity. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah. Now, these are all just estimates. It's not to say for sure. And if you're interested in investing in a property, feel free to reach out to both myself and Dave, and we can kind of run some numbers and walk you through everything. These are all just ballpark numbers for right now. Again, there's no tenant currently living in this property, so you would be able to get fresh tenants in there. But yeah, if you're interested, feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions about investing, again, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. I love this new segment.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, we might have lost all the non stat people.
Yeah. Yeah, all the non numbers people probably left, but if you're still here, appreciate you sticking around, and we hope you enjoyed the show. That's all, folks. Take care.